So back to our channel, this is our part 3 of hemodynamics. So here we are going to discuss about vascular compliance, or also called as capacitance of blood vessels. So you know what are called as capacitance blood vessels? They are nothing but our veins. So the distendability, that is the ability to stretch of a vessel, is called as compliance. So by adding the blood volume to arteries and veins in some amount, we can find out the most compliant vessel. So it's like nothing but you can understand, if you add more volume of blood, even though it is able to hold it, then it is nothing but called as most compliant vein. It's very easy to understand. So veins have more distendability, like nothing but more stretchability or compliance. So the vein can accommodate more when compared with the arteries. So remember, veins can accommodate more when compared with arteries. So pressure is less in veins and pressure is very much high in arteries. This is we already know. High pressure system is our systemic circulation system, and the low pressure system is our venous system. So normally the arteries are like having low compliance. 70% of the blood volume is in venous side and very few amount of volume is in arteries. We know this. So unstressed volume is mainly in veins, because unstressed means low pressure, so it's venous system, whereas in artery stress volume, because it's high pressure system. So venoconstriction is done by sympathetic overflow. So we already know, because of sympathetic nervous system, our venous vein side get constricted, so their compliance is decreased. That is, there's increase in pressure and hold less volume, and then extra volume is added to the arteries, and the stress volume gets increased. So here you can understand that already the pressure is high. So because of adding extra volume, again there is increase in stress volume side, and it also gets increased. So you know, venodilation. Venodilation means more stretchable and more distensible. So more compliance, so more volume. So even if we add more volume, it may lead to increase in unstressed volume, but not to the stress volume. So always remember, to increase the stress volume, there should be more pressure. To increase the unstressed volume, there should be low pressure. And the blood volume in arterial side is decreased. So if unstressed volume is increased, you can understand only in the venous side it is increased, but in a systemic side it is decreased. So here you can see, from veins, that is unstressed volume, to artery stress volume. To convert the unstressed volume into stress volume, we need venoconstriction, because vessels get constricted, pressure is increased, so compliance is decreased, so thereby nothing but the arterial stress volume is increased. Whereas to convert the veins, that is stress volume, into unstressed volume, we need to do venodilation. So here not veins, it's artery, and here comes vein, right? Because in vein only unstressed volume, in artery stress volume. So to convert the stress volume into unstressed volume, we need to do venodilation. That is, vessels get dilated, so because of dilation, stress volume gets converted into unstressed volume. So if there is increase in volume, increase in pressure in arteries, and that too it is fast increase in pressure in arteries, and whenever there is increase in volume, increase in pressure, it is slow in veins. So always remember that pressure increases very fast in arteries when volume increases, but when volume increases in the case of veins, the pressure increases, but it slowly increases, not like directly increasing. So veins are more compliant. So by this main cause only, we can say that veins are more compliant, because by adding more volume also, they are like able to hold them for long time, so slowly they'll increase the pressure, means they are more compliant. But arteries are less compliant, because they're having only small place. In that small place, if you add more volume, they increase the pressure very fast. So by this we can say that veins are more compliant. So you can see, in aging, arteries they become stiffen. In older people, you see their arteries are stiffened and become more less, means they become less compliant, because very much stiffened means their elasticity is gone. So even if more volume is added, it is very hard for them to compliant to stretch the vessel. So you can see here, C is equal to V by P, that is compliance is equal to volume by pressure. That is, compliance is directly proportional to volume. That is, if you had more volume of blood, it will more compliance. Compliance is like nothing but elasticity. If you add more volume of the, it can get more elastified, like that. Whereas pressure, when pressure is increased, compliance decreases, because more pressure, it can not you know it cannot sustain that high pressures. So if pressure increases, compliance decreases. So this is how compliance and volume, compliance and pressure are related. So for example, if 120 pressure in a left ventricle systole in aorta, it's the most powerful one we know. And next 80 is the pressure in a ventricular diastole in towards the aorta, whereas the mean arterial pressure is 93 to by 100 of mercury, and 50 is the pressure of arterioles. 20 is capillaries, it's like 1 second revision. 10 for venules, 4 for vena cava, 0 to 2 is for right atrium, 0 to 25 again is for right ventricle, powerful for pulmonary. So what is the powerful pressure for our systolic or systemic circulation? Most powerful one is 120, and for right ventricle the powerful for pulmonary circulation is 0 to, that is mainly 25 pressure. So 15 is the value of pressure for pulmonary artery, 10 for the pulmonary capillaries, for pulmonary veins at 8, and for left atrium it's 2 to 7. So the systemic pressure is increase in pressure, increase in resistance. Then whereas in pulmonary, you can see in pulmonary side there is decrease in pressure and also decrease in resistance, because you can see in systemic side most of the pressures are very high, so the resistance is also increased, whereas in pulmonary side there is decrease in pressure and also decrease in resistance. So the pulsations are produced in the aorta and large arteries, small arteries due to systole and diastole of the left ventricle. You know these pulsations like when you catch the pulse of arteries, you can feel it, that is because of pulsations which are passing from our heart, whereas pressure is very high during systole and pressure is very low during diastole. And one more thing about pulsations is that pulsations are not heard in arterioles and also in veins and venules, because there you can understand the receiving capacity is decreased to them, whereas only to up to large arteries these pulsations can be felt. And pressure is increased during systole and pressure is decreased during diastole. This we all know in our cardiac cycle. So pulse pressure is nothing but the systolic blood pressure minus diastolic blood pressure. We already discussed 120 minus 80. That is 40 millimeters of mercury. So the volume wave moves slowly, but the pressure wave moves fast. Always remember that volume waves move slow, but pressure waves move fast. So arterioles offer high pressure resistance. So now let us see the systolic diastolic blood pressure. So left ventricle contraction, aortic valve open, mitral valve close, volume increase, pressure increase. This is I am reading faster because we already seen this in our cardiac output, cardiac cycle, everything we have discussed it in very slow, very detailed. So aorta stretch out and the pressure is increased and also carried to the major branches. This is called as systolic blood pressure. We all know that is mainly 120 millimeters of mercury. So it mainly depends on the stroke volume. That is, the stroke volume increases, then systolic blood pressure increases, and stroke volume is directly proportional to systolic blood pressure. Of course, it is also directly proportional to cardiac output. So if the stroke volume decreases, of course, blood pressure decreases, also cardiac output decreases. So they're all interrelated. So cardiac, we know again, recall cardiac output is equal to stroke volume into heart rate. So arteries are less compliant when compared with veins. That is what we discussed in our previous papers. So during systole, aorta shows the compliance to accommodate more volume. As we become older, the aorta compliance is decreased, mainly in older people. So the stroke volume produce very high blood pressure. So this is the reason why in older people we have blood pressure. Once again, let us understand this. In older age, you can understand the blood vessels compliance is decreased, means their elastic nature is decreased. So for example, you can understand if a ventricle is beating 120 millimeters of mercury of blood pressure to the aorta, but before in normal person the aorta is stretchable, so it will stretch and it will not increase the blood pressure. But now in older people, that is very stiff, the wall is very stiff, so the blood pressure increases because now it can't stretch anymore. So because of this, there is increase in high pressure blood pressure mainly in old people. So it is compliant in younger, usually the blood pressure is normal. So during diastole, no more ejection of blood, that is aorta closes and mitral valve opens, and due to elastic recoil of aorta, it maintains the pressure and the blood is still pushed through arterioles, and this depends on mainly arterial constriction and dilation. So we know about diastole, it is a passive process, it doesn't need any contraction, because of elastic recoil of aorta, some blood which is remain in aorta moves in the form of diastole. But you can also imagine in this older people, as their aorta is stiffened because their elasticity is gone, even in this older people the diastole is also somewhat decreased. So if arterioles are dilated, blood from the aorta rushes and blood pressure is decreased, less diastolic pressure. So if arterioles are constricted, then blood pressure is trapped in aorta and the pressure is increased. So blood pressure increases mainly depend on total peripheral resistance. So if the total peripheral resistance increase, then more pressure is increased, and if total pressure resistance is decreased, then pressure is decreased. Of course, not only by this means, you can also understand total peripheral resistance is like some force which is stopping our, for example, this is our blood flow, laminar blood flow. Okay, so this is the blood flow and this is our total peripheral resistance. So you can understand resistance is like opposite force. If opposite force is coming like very strong, it is very strong, then this laminar flow is very low, means here the blood pressure will decrease. If the total peripheral resistance will, yeah, yeah, no, if resistance will increase, even blood pressure will increase, because it is giving lot of resistance. So now this blood pressure will be like, I should win against this anyhow it feels like I should win against this blood pressure, this total peripheral resistance. So in turn, to win against this, even this will increase its blood pressure. So like that, they are like directly proportional, total peripheral resistance and blood pressure. So you can see here, if resistance, total peripheral resistance increase, then more blood pressure. Total peripheral resistance is decreased, less blood pressure. So compliance of arterial tree, if they are not shifting, they can recoil and stretch. So in old age, pressure is increased in arterial tree and pressure goes up and during diastole, as they can't recoil again, pressure is increased during diastole also. That's what we discussed. So in old age, both systolic and diastolic both are increased. Both blood pressure is increased. That is 120 is systolic is increased and diastole 80, that is also increased. So both are increased. So cardiac output, stroke volume, total peripheral resistance, they change mainly because your blood pressure is increased. Of course, all those factors remaining, all those also will change because they are all interdependent. So map is the mean arterial pressure. So mean arterial pressure, again we are revising it many times, diastolic blood pressure plus one third of pulse pressure. So that is pulse pressure is equal to systole minus diastole, we know it is 40. So 80 plus one third of 40, again it's 93. So map more near to the systole than diastole. That is, mean arterial pressure is more nearer to the systole when compared with diastole. So here the systole is shorter and the diastole is longer. So we may get reason like why systole is larger and why systole is shorter and why diastole is longer, because of this reason that mean arterial pressure is more towards the systole. It's more towards the systole, so systole is shorter, means it is having higher pressure, so that systole will remain only for short time. But whereas it is far away from the diastole, so diastole will be longer. So we get insusura. Insusura is due to the closure of aortic valve. When aortic valve closes, we get a sound like thing that is called as insula. So mainly in old person, in systolic blood pressure changes more than diastolic blood pressure. Even the diastolic blood pressure changes, it doesn't play that much role, but mainly the systolic blood pressure, that is that 120 part, rises so much in old person because of this compliance problem. So we know dilation, more stretchable, more distensible, and more compliance, more volume, increase unstressed volume, and the blood volume in the arterial side is decreased. So this is a normal phenomena in normal people. So this is all about our sorry, we went by mistake in our. So in old person, BP changes more than the diastolic blood pressure. Yeah, morely systolic blood pressure changes. And next, in arterial, in arterial sclerosis, in atherosclerosis, there is some plaques formed in our blood vessels. So harder the arterioles become in old age. Already the arterioles are harder now, and also there are plaques now. So this increases the pulse pressure and also increases the mean arteriolic pressure. So the aortic valve. So these are the conditions which take place in atherosclerosis. And next, let us see in aortic valve stenosis. There is narrow aortic valve, so doesn't open completely, and pulse again is increased, stroke volume is decreased because now aortic valve is not opening. So stroke, of course, from aortic valve only the blood should come to systemic circulation. So now the stroke volume is also blocked or decreased, and pulse pressure is decreased. So everything is decreased if aortic valve is stenosed. Whereas in atherosclerosis, the pulse pressure is increased, and also mean arteriolic pressure is also increased because of sclerosis. For example, you can see this is a blood vessel. Here there is sclerosis. First it will be normal laminar flow, whereas here it will be again turbulent flow, again it will come laminar flow. So you can see in this turbulent flow, especially in this area, there is lot of pressure increase because it need to pass to this like this. So lot of pressure is increased, so mean arterial pressure also increases. So that is what they are saying here in our atherosclerosis. So this is all about our hemodynamics we have completed. Finally, we'll see some pictures from our textbook so that we can correlate them with our textbook diagrams and we can understand it more clearly. So these are all the formulas we already seen. Force is equal to change in pressure gradient by resistance, and here we have change in pressure gradient is equal to force in resistance from that formula only. If we shuffle it, we get those all kind of formulas, and these are the diagrams which we need to observe. So you can see the pressure gradient is like here the starting point P1 pressure over here, and this is the P2 the pressure over here. So the difference between this P1 and P2 is nothing but the pressure gradient, and you can see the blood flow here, and this is the resistance which is means given to this pressure gradient. And here you can see our laminar blood flow, and also you can see this middle flow is very much higher when compared with our borders, because borders are like sticking toward the wall. And this is a turbulent blood flow, because you can see it's like not, it is disordered only, it is not like eddy currents are formed, whirlpools like all those are formed there. And this is a parabolic velocity profile during laminar. What is this parabolic velocity? That is nothing but this center one which is moving faster, that is called as parabolic velocity, that's it. And here you can see we have Reynolds number already discussed. This is density into diameter into rho, and eta is viscosity of blood. We already discussed all these parameters, and you can see here in dyne centimeter square. This is expression of resistance in CGS 1333 into millimeters of mercury divided by millimeter per second. And this is the pressure difference. Yeah, the pressure difference in systemic arteries and veins is like about 100 by 100 or 1 PRU. And sometimes when the vessel gets strongly constricted, it may go to 4 PRU, and when the vessel is strongly dilated, then it may go to 0.2 PRU. And here also we can see some diagrams. Here the first one, you can see how the diameter of vessel affects the blood flow. So first you can see when the diameter is very much low, the blood flow is also low, 1 milliliter per minute. Whereas the diameter is increased to 2, then even the blood flow, of course we know this. If diameter increases, means if the vessel get dilates more, then the blood flow increases, but the pressure decreases, that's it. So you can see here the large vessel and a small vessel. In the large vessel, you can see in the center how fast the flow is according to laminar flow, and the small vessel you can see. So many large vessels have more flow, and you can see conductance is inversely proportional to resistance, and conductance is directly proportional to diameter power 4. We already discussed all this. And here you can see F is equal to, that is Poisson's law, F is equal to pi delta P pressure gradient R power 4 by 8 eta into L is the length. And you know, in series R total is equal to R1 plus R2, all editing, that is adding. And here you know R in case of parallel 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. So here also you can see the vascular resistance. A is in series and B is in parallel. Mainly series we'll see whenever blood is supplying to especially one organ, and in parallel we'll see like from systemic circulation to venous side circulation to different organs. And here you can see the hematocrites in healthy normal person, and effect of hematocrit on blood viscosity. So in our x-axis we have hematocrit, on y-axis we have our viscosity. So you can see as hematocrit is increasing here, the viscosity of water, the viscosity of plasma, and this is the viscosity of whole blood. So you can see as the hematocrit is increasing, the viscosity of blood is also increasing, and as the viscosity of water is increasing, you can see the hematocrit is decreasing. And next you can see the mean arterial pressure. We know it's 93 in our arterial side, and it's 15 in our venous side. So you can see on x-axis mean arterial pressure, y-axis the blood flow. So as the blood flow is increasing, the mean arterial pressure is also normal increasing, and also there is some local control, vasoconstriction. So this is a normal. Here also arterial pressure and blood flow. As blood flow sympathetic inhibition, blood flow is inhibiting, and sympathetic stimulation, blood flow is increasing, you can see. So those are all the graphs, diagrams to see in our textbook, and all the glossary terms already we have discussed except this autoregulation. There is ability of tissue to adjust its resistance and maintain the normal blood flow during changes in arterial pressure between approximately 70 and 175. That is a autoregulation. Autoregulation is like local factors which regulate the blood according to the situation there. And critical closing pressure is the blood pressure below which the vessel collapse and the blood flow ceases. So here the blood flow is stopping below the pressure where the vessel is collapsed. And laminar total peripheral resistance, yeah, total peripheral resistance of entire systemic circulation. For one, every vessel has resistance, we know. If we combine all those resistance, that is the total peripheral resistance. So this all we have already completed. So we are done with hemodynamics.